When you're first getting started with a brand new podcast, there are a lot of different elements that you need to consider to help you grow. But one of the most important factors is getting high quality audio. In this video, I wanted to share with you a few tips for making sure that the audio on your podcast is top notch. The first thing that you need to know about getting high quality audio on your podcast is that it's not all about the equipment. Sure, investing in a nicer microphone can definitely help to improve your audio, but you could go all out and spend like $3,000 on your podcast mic setup and it could still sound like trash if you don't know how to use it properly. If you're wanting to get started and you don't have the budget for expensive gear, do not stress. You can actually get pretty high quality sounding results just using your iPhone. Or any smartphone really. And then once you're ready and you're seeing some success with your podcast, then you can upgrade down the line. If you are going to use your phone, there are some strategies that you can use to make sure that your audio is sounding as crisp as possible. Half the battle is just finding somewhere that can be quiet for like half an hour to 45 minutes while you record into your phone. Where I live, which you might sometimes notice in the background, there is a lot of traffic. I live on like a main street and there are often sirens going past. So when I'm recording my podcast or any other kind of content for that matter, I find myself having to just pause, wait for the noise to dissipate, and then continue throughout recording. So if that happens to you, don't stress. You can always cut it out later. I find that a lot of beginner podcasters think that they need to talk straight through like they would in a conversation or on a phone call, but don't be afraid to just pause, like I'm doing right now, because there's a siren out there, and then cut it out later. You also want to make sure that the room you're recording in isn't going to negatively impact your sound quality. The recommendation that I always like to make for new podcasters is to find a small and ideally soft space in your home where you can record. So one of the go-to spots for this is your closet, because it kind of makes a little bit of a DIY sound booth when you're surrounded by clothes which absorb echo, and it also just makes sure that there's like not likely to be a lot of other sound going on in your closet, right? So you should be able to record some really good clean audio there. Finally, I would recommend holding your phone sort of like this, like away into the side of your mouth, so that you don't get any extra like popping or hissing sounds like if you were talking directly into it, you might get. So sort of this pose is what you want to go for, and ideally in your closet or under a blanket or something like that. Okay, so that's how to get really great audio if you are balling on a budget, but let's talk about the steps that you can take once you're ready to invest. If you really want to upgrade and you're interested in creating a bit of a mini podcast studio in your home, my recommendation is grabbing the Zoom H5 recorder and a couple XLR microphones. We'll leave some links in the description so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about and purchase them if you want. This is a really, really great setup if you plan on always recording with other people in person. So if you're gonna have guests in and out of your space, or if you have a couple of co-hosts that you're regularly recording with, this is the best way to get really, really high quality audio, because you're gonna be able to record multiple different audio tracks at once. To kind of explain what I'm talking about, if you've ever tried recording your podcast with a guest, say just on your phone or on any other kind of microphone, you'll know that at the end of it, you get one audio file and it's both of your voices on one file. Now, this can be okay, but if you run into problems like one of you was closer to the microphone and therefore a lot louder, or somebody else is like kind of sniffling or coughing or something while someone else is talking, you're not gonna be able to do anything to fix that because it's all blended into one audio file. However, if you use something like the Zoom H5 recorder, you are able to record up to 5 different audio inputs. So 5 different microphones, which means you can have multiple guests or hosts, and they're each gonna have their own MP3 or WAV file that's gonna isolate just their voice. So if one person is louder than the other, somebody laughs really loudly into the microphone, you can adjust those all individually after the fact, which is going to lead to a much more professional final result. So that's great if you're doing in-person interviews and you kind of have a studio setup. But if you are more likely to be recording interviews online, which seems to be more common these days, And there's also lots of great software that you can use to do this. Again, we can link some options in the description, but if you're mostly gonna be recording online through your computer, then I would recommend getting a high quality USB microphone. My personal preference is the Rode NT USB microphone. Again, we'll link it in the description. This is what I use to record the Creator Club podcast. It is so easy to use. It's literally just a USB-C cord. You plug it into your computer. For me, I open up QuickTime and I just start recording a new audio file, but you could easily open up any online podcast recording software and you're ready to go. If you want more tips about growing a successful podcast, you can check out this video that I posted over on my personal channel where I go into all of the tips that I have for growing a show. And if you are thinking about getting started with a podcast and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed about the editing, getting it up on Apple and Spotify and all those different platforms, then we would love to help you at Creatorly Media. We've got a whole suite of different podcast related services that you can check out on our website. Of course, if you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching and keep on creating.